When I was a small kid, I was afraid of horses. And why wouldn't I be? They're bigger, stronger, faster, and more powerful than any human being. After a long day at kindergarten, I was walking to my village towards home. When I got to about 100 meters from my home, there was a big, strong white horse standing in the street right where I needed to go. I was terrified. I remember just standing there, frozen in fear, waiting for the horse to either move aside or for another villager to show up so I could pass with them. That memory stuck with me because now, as an adult, I think a horse weighs half a ton, 500 kilograms. It can sprint at 60 kilometers per hour. It can kick a bone and shatter it, destroy it. So why would such a majestic creature listen to humans, much smaller and weaker, with such obedience that they're used for entertainment, farming, transportation, or even war? We can answer this with the help of biology and history. Everything begins with how horses perceive the world. Our human vision might not be the best in the animal kingdom, but we perceive reality in a much clearer and more focused way than horses do. For instance, horses have a nearly 360-degree field of vision. While that might sound like a superpower, it comes at a huge cost. They can't focus on a single point the way we can. Their eyesight is blurry and lacks the ability to see the color red. Overall, they're built to detect movement, not to identify stationary objects, especially at a distance. That makes perfect sense when you remember that they are prey animals, made to gaze while staying alert to threats. We are predators. Therefore, we evolved differently. We have forward facing eyes for deep perception, can focus on specific targets, and we evolved to track, stalk, and hunt. We used our brains to create tools, follow footprints, and wait for the right moment to strike. Horses, meanwhile, rely heavily on their other senses, like hearing, smell, and especially touch. They have excellent high frequency hearing and an acute sensitivity to pressure and movement. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Horses don't see strength and dominance the way we do. Their social understanding is based on posture, movement, and energy, not brute force. They live in herds, where hierarchy is based on signals, not who can hit the hardest. They also see close objects up to 50% larger than we do. So dominance isn't about who's physically bigger, it's about who shows calm, assertive leadership. Imagine this: a small girl, maybe 14 years old, can grab a massive horse by the bottom lip and lead it across a field. Not because she's stronger, no, but because she acts in charge. The horse doesn't calculate size, it reads energy. If you behave like a leader, it often assumes you are one. Sure, they'll challenge you now and then, but if you respond wisely, they back down. In short, horses judge power differently, and that fact alone sets the foundation for our shared history. Humans are predators. Our ancestors traveled in tribes, walking dozens of kilometers each day to hunt massive Arctic mammoths. We strategized, we solved problems, we built tools, and we pursued. Horses, as prey animals, lived with constant alertness. Their survival depends on speed, awareness, and sticking with the herd. If one horse ran, the whole herd followed. That instinct made them hyper responsive, but also deeply cautious. Then something changed. At some point, humans realized that some animals were more useful as allies than as prey. We began domesticating horses around 6,000 years ago. It probably started rough, but over time we didn't just tame them, we understood them. We discovered that horses respond to more than force. They respond to communication, a tug on the rein, a shift in weight, a calm, confident voice. This technique, called pressure and release, became the foundation of our relationship. It's not about domination, it's about cooperation. And over generations, horses began to trust humans. They evolved with us, not as pets, but as partners. Both sides got something they needed. Humans gained a fast, strong companion for hunting, travel, and war. Horses got safety, food, and leadership, like being a part of a well organized herd. Here is the part that fascinates me. That form of communication, pressure and release, is something humans use with each other every day. Imagine a job where you are not allowed to speak much. You observe your coworkers, what they like, what they avoid, how they act. You adjust and you respond. Over time, you will build trust. It's the same dynamic cues, adjustments, and mutual understanding. Trust is powerful, and when a horse trusts you, it follows without resistance. It senses your calm, it feels safe around you. That's when real cooperation happens. And people were no different. In societies, governments, and communities, when people are forced to obey, they might follow, but they won't trust blindly. And when trust is absent, they don't contribute. But when people trust each other and the systems they live in, they cooperate, they build, they share. So, about my story at the beginning, after just waiting there for a few minutes, hoping for somebody to help, I grabbed all the courage I had and passed through. The horse likely ignored me. But I think overall this subject is interesting because the lessons we might learn from our story with horses, how we relate to animals reflects how we relate to each other and how we relate to power. We live in a time where trust is fragile, conflict, misinformation, political polarization. It's easy to feel disconnected or even suspicious. But I believe we can rebuild trust between people, between countries, between generations. Europe at its best is a project based on trust and cooperation. 27 countries are choosing to work together not because they have to, not to force, but because they believe that by uniting they can solve problems no single country can solve alone, like immigration, climate change, inequality, and peace. Like the horse and the rider, it only works with communication, respect, and mutual understanding.